Hello everyone, and welcome to Siren Isle, the upcoming patch for 11.0.7. So please be warned, spoilers ahead. A battle for Xal'atath Island has emerged. An island that used to have a whole bunch of Azerites, and still contains a crystal similar to Beladar.
As we delved deeper, we encountered certain obstacles, colossal crystals, which we came to realize were calcified chunks of the world soul's essence. They are of great power, and I wonder how many yet remain undiscovered beneath the earth, all over the world.
Well, at least one more crystal has popped up. It too is calling out. The first hint of this was given by Rickett and Skagit, talking about it in Dornegal since the anniversary patch. When they arrived on the island, it was eerie and abandoned. There was nobody at the end of the call, besides this big crystal at an abandoned mine. Before they could take anything, clouds were rolling in, and seeing how their gang was already on edge, they decided to book it out of there. If they heard it loud and clear, you could be certain that others have as well. Vrykul, Naga, and pirates, they're gonna be our opposition. While the Arafi, Irvin, and Goblin allies, they will join us to the Siren Isle and help uncover its mysteries. So far for the story and the history, this is what I've been able to piece together, but if you know more, if I got something wrong, by all means, call me out in the comments. Once upon a time, the crystal upon Siren's Isle, it called out, and her call was heard in the warring north. With hands of iron and souls of fire they pledged, assuming the Vrykul of Northrend, but they did not come alone. There's also a depiction of an imposing metal-skinned figure. Upon her raised hand, a ring can be seen upon her gauntlets. Circe, caller of storms, with her own saga. Noble was her mission, unhindered was her charge, terrifying was her wrath. Her own circlets and legends of a mythical siren that could lure even the stubbornest sailors to a watery grave. And her close companion, Treyir, Eyes of Circe, or Eyes of the Siren, born amongst peaks of storm, bound by spirit and kinship, anguished by waves of darkness. Another reason why they would originate from Northrend, born amongst the storm peaks, right? Born amongst peaks of storm. They then find the cave with a massive crystal. Hymozel, they call it, the luminous heart. Yardfear, first stone carver of Circe, crafted her circlets, and then went on to build a vault to contain the crystal, guardians included, as not only the noble Vrykul found the way here. A fearsome battle between the metallic figures and serpentine creatures emerging from the waves. Naga on the attack. Although the metallic figures are outnumbered, allies in the form of winged humanoids and stone golems fight at their side. We can see statues depicting Valkyr. Does that mean Keeper Odin was aware of this place, or are these Valkyr that liberated themselves and then found their own way in the world? Or maybe they're warrior maidens amongst the Vrykul. All the same, they fought with in this battle, and then the final storm. The tremor ceased and waves churned new. From depths the darkness crawled. By Circe's hands the heart yet stood, her song a spark within. And from Treyir's description, we learn that, in a fit of rage and despair, Treyir conjured a storm that would ravage the land and annihilate Circe's enemies. After nearly 10,000 years, the Sea Fury Tempest continues to roil as an echo of his power. Could this be the same storm that's been hanging around Kesogar, making it so hard to reach the Isle? Now, I couldn't find a piece that directly explains what happened to Circe. If you have found it, by all means, let me know, but it seems like the Naga, backed up by the darkness beneath the waves, old god powers and whatnot, they caused quite a bit of trouble for Circe and those trying to protect the crystal. Perhaps she was pushed into making the ultimate sacrifice, and then Treyir unleashed this storm. Now, I've had people ask when the Naga came about, and that would be over 10,000 years ago now, at the end of the War of the Ancients, so a storm lasting for that long would line up. We then read about how they started to carve Citrines out of that big crystal, Hymozel with runes that bring forth power. Crystals that we can earn and put in our ring, so far giving bonuses like having a chance at dealing nature damage, heal nearby allies, or just a flat-out highest secondary stat increase. And of course, more sort of upgrades are going to be unlocked. That would be the late history of the island, as I could find it. A little bit more recent, that takes us to around the Battle for Azeroth time periods. All across the surface of the world, a brand new resource had popped up. Azerites. Incredibly powerful, which Sylvanas thought was going to change everything. We set sail on many island expeditions to gather as much of the stuff as we could. But we weren't the only ones. A transcribed Kaltiran journal explains that Kaltirans working for the Ashvane Company made landfall on this isle. Despite the tales surrounding the place, despite the graveyard of ships that greeted them, none of it was enough to make them turn around. Not when there was so much azerite to be mined. At the time, the isle still had a whole bunch of trees, but their mining operations quickly got rid of those. Sirens are also spotted off the shore. Not surprising given the name of the isle, but similar to the other creatures, they seem to be more wary of them. With the other wildlife acting the way it does, it's downright eerie. Almost like they're waiting for something. They also see a golden man, one of those pledged Vrykos of the past, perhaps kept alive by Azeroth remembering them, but all of that was the least of the worries. The true threat of the isle revealed itself when the storm rolled in. Lost so many in the storm, plucked right off the deck, crawled right up out of the ocean and ended up the boats they did. Terrors I haven't seen the likes of before. Crabs as big as the hull, giant serpent-like bugs, and the wailing. If I wasn't convinced this isle is bad news, I certainly believe now. A good thing that our goblin allies booked it off the isle before the storm caught them. Remnants of 3-year spell work, I imagine, and we will also have to face the storm. During the presentation, I thought this was going to be like the storms in Dragonflight. They were going to spawn on certain times, but instead we just talked to an NPC. And they let us go into the stormed version of the island. Sort of similar to the alternate reality that we had in Mechagon with Chromie, but without having to pay a resource to go in. So now, nearly all of their ships are destroyed by the storm, and with all the azerite that they gathered, not everybody is going to fit on the one remaining vessel that was going to take them home. With another storm on the horizon, they drew lots, and some of them were unlucky enough to stay behind, while others would have to go out and try to avoid the storm. Who knows what happened to them? They would be back, they said, but our journalist doesn't really believe it. Still, they stayed behind and kept on mining until a monstrous azerite elemental attacked, killed over half the people they had left before they managed to back it into a cave. Stalagnorok is right where they left him, and by supporting the Irvin with flame-blessed iron, we can open up this cave, take him on, and earn sweet rewards like Citrines. Alternatively, we can join the Goblins to take on Gravesludge, who has congealed Kaltirans fighting at his side, or the Arafi to fight the undead dragon Nerator. Now they have less than a handful left of them on the island. Next entry just says that they're gone. He was up in the sleeping quarters making lunch. There was this loud bang or screech, and then just poof, all of them gone, like they were never there to begin with. Our man is left all by himself, but now, the song. I can hear it now. When I sleep, it's louder. It's calling. A sweet, gentle song, just like Esther would sing. The isle itself. Find it I will. Followed the song and dug till my hands bled. Found it. A door. Stories were true. All of them. And there we find our author. Journal next to his dead body and the circlet in his hand. The Guardian made sure that he wasn't going to leave the vault, but we fare a little bit better. Almost 10 years have passed, and that's when we arrive on the island, uncovering this history, finding the bosses, braving the storm, and empowering our ring, which you can see on your hands. We can also unlock Trier as a mount, but 5 keystones are going to be required, which we can gather on the isle. Beyond that, I imagine the adventure on the isle is mainly going to be a catch-up patch. A chance to gear up your alts with maybe the ring being a nice bonus going into the next major patch. Very similar to what they've done with the mini patch Return to the Forbidden Reach, with some elements of Mechagon thrown into the mix. Flying is not going to be available from the get-go, but supposedly will be unlocked later, giving you a chance to explore this very small island by foot, occasionally get some items to make traveling a bit easier, like a rocket jump. So yeah, again, very much like the Forbidden Reach, which means that I'm probably going to play it as much as I played Return to the Forbidden Reach back in Dragonflight. That said, if it is comparable in that way, then we can't forget that it was during Return to the Forbidden Reach that they picked up what would become the Dark Heart. So just because it's going to be somewhat of a filler episode, that does not mean important stuff won't happen. So at face value, we can see the naga on the rise, still very active, and while the naga can definitely act on their own accord, we do still have the Queen Azshara out there somewhere. She was gonna go for a throne of power. Why were they originally sent here to the island, and does Azshara remember this? We also have side quests in Hollowfall with the squids and Darkness from Below, which could lead into an underwater adventure, or at least the return of Queen Azshara. We can also see that the Arathi have left their cave and are back on the surface with their airships. They make mention of imperial waters and being closer to the Empire than ever before. The Goblins also know a thing or two about cruising through the sky, so Erana and Nick's gear kick, they're spending a lot of time admiring one another. Goblins were very prominent in the presentation as well. They were the first to uncover this island for us, and of course, their capital of Undermine was mentioned in Ashkahet. I already did a video recently on Gaslow and the Goblins, if you want to know more on what the future could bring. Then the Urvan, they're the last in the mix of three on the island, and there's a bit of a rivalry, there's a bit of a competition, a bit of tension between the three groups, as each of them goes about things in their own way. Goblins being explosive, while Urvan are very methodic, the Arathi a bit more hostile. There's a bit of tension brewing. And then finally, one of the big ones that we can find on the islands. That would be, of course, another Beledar. Another huge chunk of Azeroth's spirits that is singing out, calling out, and offering great power. It sings to the Arathi with a familiar tune, similar as to how it was singing to the Kalteran in the journal with a familiar tune. While editing, more parallels became clear when it comes to the story for Battle for Azeroth. Back then we had Azerite pop up, and this was going to change everything. And whereas some saw this as a weapon, a mass destruction, world domination, others were inspired to heal, to build shelters, to be kind and save the world. This parallel is repeated on Siren Isle, where some are like, I'm inspired to heal, whereas others are like, we need to prepare for war. Some just want to make batteries and power sources, whereas others want to make stuff to blow up. The parallels with Azerite are very clear. Beyond that, a speculative connection that could be made is the ability to empower the crystal. We've had the Atamal crystal with the Draenei. The origin of the crystal was never really explained, but we do know that this allowed Velen to communicate clearly with the Naru, beings of light, and through it, they escaped Argus, they escaped Sargeras and the Burning Legion, and the Atamal crystal separated into different ones, with each of them giving different kinds of powers. Like there was one that allowed them to cloak their city, there was one that would invigorate their fighters, crystals with different kinds of powers. So could it be that this crystal originates from Argus? Perhaps this is the crystalline form of Argus's world soul, but that is very much speculation. The hum can be adjusted to heal, to empower. Runes can be carved upon the crystal to benefit its wielder. Darkness can influence its state. The blood of the old gods stored away in Beledar, a massive force to be drained by Xal'atath. But does that mean Azeroth's original state is light? Or was that too a power simply absorbed into the crystal, like the crystal used in the Ashbringer? A lot of potential for the story going forward, but in this patch, the adventures on the Siren Isle would be the main thing, but they're not going to be the only thing. Plunderstorm is coming back, which is great because I really missed it. All the new rewards are coming back in. The Turbulent Timeways are returning as well. There's going to be a Arathi ear customization on humans and Kalterans. And then, story-wise, we're going to explore the fate of the Kirin Tor. Delve into the aftermath of Dalaran's fall in the War Within Epilogue questline. The Kirin Tor must confront their past mistakes and decide on the future course of their people. Dalaran is destroyed. What does that mean for the Kirin Tor and their role in the world? And then finally, story prologue for the 11.1 campaign. Continue the story of the War Within and uncover a familiar face in the darkness. As we can see, this will involve the Harnir, so if that's gonna be the prologue for 11.1, does that mean we're gonna get our live Rootland storyline? Time is going to tell. I do have a video up already going over what that story might contain. If you're curious, there is a Datamine conversation connected to that prologue storyline, but I'll link that in the description for those that really want to hear it before it comes out. With that, I think we've been going on for long enough. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. By all means, if you got some more information to share, let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, see ya!